All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Give me a touch on the top prop bets here for this Thursday night showdown between the Washington Commanders and the Philadelphia Eagles. But first, we're going to get into a quick recap from yesterday. So guys, just a quick recap from yesterday. Yesterday I ended up going 4 for 6, which was kind of predictable after having not the best day on Tuesday. That's just typical balance and active chasing, plus EV bets that have a 54% likelihood or better to hit. So yesterday ended up being a much better day as a whole, with the PrizePicks discounts going 2 for 2 as well. The one that was annoying was Brandon Boston Jr. He had 6 turnovers. I mean, really, he should have been able to cash pretty comfortable with that. Maybe 2 turnovers, maybe 3 turnovers. Heck, even if he has 4 turnovers, he still cashes pretty comfortable with that one. So a little bit tilting there. And then Kata, the one that missed, he had like 9 fantasy points pretty early on in that game, but got into foul trouble. Yeah, kind of annoying. That does happen with backup bigs. A decent amount, that's always a little bit of a concern, but pretty good stuff there. Obviously, we'll always take 4 for 6. Let's go ahead now and jump on in to this Thursday night football game. Going to be getting into the preview. Then we'll get into the top bets for that game specifically on both PrizePicks and Underdog, but also just kind of showing you guys the general board that we have today as well. We're getting some college basketball, NBA, and college football prop bets that I want to touch on as well. So let's go ahead and jump into the Thursday night preview. And so we go ahead and jump on into a quick game preview of this game. What we're going to notice is that this is a kind of higher scoring game, especially in regards to this week's slate of games. It's projected to be the highest scoring game at 48.5 points, with the Philadelphia Eagles being favored to win. So this doesn't really tell me much about in terms of like us wanting to make like a specific build or slip based off of how the game is projected to play, because 3.5 points is not much. Obviously, in a game where there's going to be 48.5 points, we're probably going to be favoring some of the overs, but we'll see. In terms of injuries, there's not too much. In terms of players that are going to be out in this game, we're actually getting Brian Robinson Jr. back. The biggest question that we have there is, what will the snap counts be for the Washington Commanders? Austin Eckler looked pretty good last week, and 70% of the work. He's looked good this whole season. I would imagine he would get about 40 to maybe even 55% of the work if the Commanders are indeed playing from behind, maybe later on in the game. It probably will be Austin Eckler getting more work, but if the Commanders are playing with the lead, we're probably favoring a little bit more of Brian Robinson Jr., but that's going to be pretty tight there, obviously, with the 3.5 point spread. And then I do just want to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles as well. They're pretty healthy. We saw Dallas Goedert return last week after being injured for a few games there, and he ended up playing 63% of the snaps. So it'll be interesting to see how much work he gets on this short week as well. Are they concerned about him potentially re-aggravating an injury? Are we going to continue to see the backup tight end gain a decent role? And we did see that when he was out as well. Jack Stoll, the third string tight end, got about 50% of the work as well. So I think we might be looking at maybe Grant to still have a role, still playing maybe 40% of the work. That's just a guess. I haven't seen any reports confirming or denying that, but just how they've used their 2 tight end sets a decent amount, I could see that happening. And his receiving yards from line is at like 6.5. So basically, will he catch a pass or not? I don't hate that idea. So with that, guys, that does it for the game preview. Let's go ahead and get into my favorite prop bets for this game. And so, guys, looking at the top prop bets that we have today, we are going to notice that a lot of the unders are being favored, which, again, in a high-scoring game, I don't particularly love that. It's a little bit annoying. And I'm starting with Underdog because they are valuing some of these players a little bit higher than is PrizePicks, okay? And so that's kind of a big thing right away to start off this slate, is that we are seeing some prop line differences here. And so if we're trying to gain edges on these bets that are popping up as good prop bets, we probably want to be playing more on Underdog today. And so let's go through it, guys. Noah Brown for his under fantasy score on Underdog is a decent one. Like, I don't hate it. We see the projection data is more in line with the average sportsbook line and kind of more in line with how PrizePicks is valuing this. Remember, Underdog does half point PPR, PrizePicks does full point PPR. That's why there's a slight prop line difference. Now, why are we seeing Noah Brown maybe have these differences in his lines? And it's simply due to his role. So we've seen him get a heavy target share. Actually, early on in the game last week, we saw him the Commanders try to get him going early on in the game. Kind of strange there. And we haven't really seen that kind of overextension of trying to get him the football really work for them. And I think maybe Brian Robinson Jr. being back will be something that actually is good for this offense and maybe takes away a little bit from Noah Brown. Now, obviously, if he scores a touchdown, that's going to mean that this bet's going to be likely to hit. And I say that because, man, Monday Night Football, I'm still tilted by the 3 people that we couldn't have score a touchdown, all score a touchdown. And I say because touchdowns are fluky. It's tilting. And we see Noah Brown is definitely not likely to score a touchdown based off of all of these lines. Lower is 0.85x. Okay, so that all bodes well for us with this bet. Now, one that I'm on the fence with being on here is going to be Zach Ertz. So Zach Ertz has kind of seen his role be a little bit reduced over the past few weeks, which is a little bit strange. I mean, he still saw a decent amount of targets in the last game, but given the fact that this is a half-point PPR scoring on Underdog, I do like the fact that we could bet his under 7 for his fantasy score here. So let's just say he gets over 3.5 receptions. Let's say he gets 4 receptions. That's going to be 2 points there. And then that's only 5 points if he gets his, around his line for receiving yards as well. Given the fact that, again, he's not likely to score a touchdown, I see why the data is telling us to bet the under here. And so I do agree that we would want to be more on the side of this under bet, but do I agree with the fact that it's a 55% likely to hit, 55.5%? Maybe not. I'd probably say it's closer to like 53, but still going to be a good bet there for us. Another one that's kind of popping up, Terry McLaurin. So it just really doesn't like the passing game here for the Washington Commanders. And that's because the Philadelphia Eagles have casually been pretty good at stopping opposing passing games lately. And I want to say lately because early on in the season, that was not exactly the case, but we can see big prop line differences here. So if you guys are hearing me go through this and say, no, I think Zach Ertz is going to get peppered with targets, he's going to get 5 receptions. One, I don't disagree with you guys there. I kind of like the over receptions as a whole. But like, let's say you think Terry McLaurin is going to have a good game, might as well just bet his over fantasy score on PrizePicks. Same thing with Zach Ertz there. Those are better bets there. And even Noah Brown, like better bet there on PrizePicks. But again, we're having decent edges here. So I'm kind of okay going down the board here and just kind of betting against the Washington Commanders passing offense. Now, I do want to call it that when you include Jaden Daniels in this, it doesn't really, it hurts the payout a decent amount. So I won't go that far. And so we are also seeing like Devonta Smith for under his fantasy score is popping up as a good one. Devonta Smith's definitely interesting here, guys. Devonta Smith is someone that is apparently nursing a hamstring injury. And I typically like Devonta Smith. I want to call it the big prop line differences that we're getting between him and AJ Brown, because I still don't think that this should be that drastic. Now, I think the reason why we are getting that big prop line difference between Devonta Smith and AJ Brown is because he is nursing that hamstring injury. But the fact that we are seeing that big prop line difference between those two, to me, is kind of crazy. That, to me, should not be happening. And that's going to be the case again with his fantasy score as well. And it's just mind-blowing. Like, there's no reason Devonta Smith should be that low unless he is truly injured. And don't get me wrong, if I had to choose between Brown or Smith, I probably would go Brown, but slightly different talents. But my point is, it should not be that big of a prop line difference. And so although I am going to be betting the under for Devonta Smith on Underdog, I might be favoring like his over receiving yards on PrizePicks. I don't hate that. And then one other one that I want to call it, I don't think we have to go with Zane Gonzalez there. Don't really love that there. But I want to call out like Dallas Goedert for under his fantasy score. That's okay. Tight end, if he is splitting the work there, that it's going to be likely that he isn't able to get the over. But we have Zane Gonzalez for over his kicking points. That feels pretty good there. I'm pretty comfortable with using that. So with that, let's go ahead and show you guys the Underdog by the day, and then I'll get into more of the PrizePicks bets as well for the slate, as well as just in general for today. All right, so guys, looking at the Underdog bet of the day, again, just going with all those bets I just called out, I do want to call it that doing Zane Gonzalez over his kicking points does correlate pretty well with these bets right here where we're betting the under fantasy scores, right? Because if they're not scoring touchdowns, that just means that Zane Gonzalez in this high scoring game that's supposed to be close is going to be making some field goals and some extra points. So I do like that one. And then, yeah, these two are okay. But you're going to see that some of the bets that I like a little bit more on PrizePicks are going to correlate with this. And it's a nice way to maybe stack this game in a way without reducing your payout on Underdog. But before we get into the PrizePicks picks for the day, guys, do want to call out the promo code that's going on the 9 to 5 website. Use promo code Keep Cashing at 20% off your first 9 to 5 membership. Use that promo code and get your first month for $8. Or if you're a returning member, you guys can take advantage of that as well. First month for $8. And so looking at it, guys, if you guys like Jaden Daniels for under his fantasy score, if you agree with all those other under fantasy scores that we just ran out, you can use that on PrizePicks. And I say that because if you use that on Underdog, it's drastically reducing the payout. So this is a unique way to go about stacking the slate where you're taking advantage of the edges that we have on paper and maximizing the profit that you can make off of it. So I will have some exposure to this. I'm kind of indifferent about this one. We go through all these lines that we had with him. I could see him maybe struggling today, honestly. Just it's a short week for a rookie quarterback, playing in prime time. I love him as a talent. He's in some of my best ball drafts right now, which is great. But we do see him probably being overvalued on this slate against a high scoring game. So I don't exactly want to bet against this, but he hasn't exactly been dominating as well. We get to his fantasy score here of 20.5 points. We have seen him somewhat struggle. Now, he got the over against Chicago, a little bit surprising there. Barely got it against Baltimore as well. So he hasn't exactly been dominating. So I fully get why Vegas is suggesting this. And I get why the projection data doesn't like him as well. Eagles have been a little bit better against stopping the passing game of opposing quarterbacks. Obviously, with Daniels, he could score a rushing touchdown. He could rush for a lot, and that would obviously increase his likelihood to get his over fantasy score. So from there, I do like Saquon Barkley to get his over fantasy score here, guys. One of the most annoying things last week for me, like NFL DFS wise, if you guys play on DraftKings or FanDuels, we had like 5 great running back plays, and I went with Saquon Barkley over Bijan Robinson just because I thought he had a higher ceiling. And that didn't work out because he ended up getting injured right before half, and I was wondering, why did he only play 51% of the snaps? That's why. He ended up getting injured right before half. And so assuming that he stays healthy in this game, then I do expect him to be able to get this over. Now, he probably does have to score a rushing touchdown with this, and that's a little bit of a concern. I shouldn't say rushing touchdown, a touchdown. And he's highly likely to. Obviously, we have the goblin here that suggests that he's going to be likely to. And again, if he does get that, maybe gets to 2 receptions as well, like the day suggests, he should be able to get that over. And so we see why Vegas is liking the over with the lines that we were getting. Now, that being said, if he gets that over, then that I think would decrease the likelihood of Jalen Hurts getting a rushing touchdown. So we need kind of both of those things to happen, I would say. Jalen Hurts has been crushing his over fantasy score. I kind of still like betting his over fantasy score. Washington has been a good matchup for opposing quarterbacks, and Jalen Hurts has had a great schedule lately. And so in a weird way, I'm kind of betting on both Saquon and Jalen Hurts to get their over fantasy scores. And the data doesn't exactly agree with that, guys, just as an FYI. Barkley is the better bet to score a touchdown, basically. And so because of that, his over fantasy score is being favorited. From there, it is a tighter board on PrizePicks for sure. I do like Zach Ertz to get over 3.5 receptions. It's kind of a weird way to hedge the underdog bet that we just were on, but you did see that Underdog was reducing the payout here, so I really don't mind that one. And so let's go ahead and take a peek now at just the general board that we have specifically for today, guys. We are seeing we have some good NFL prop bets that are popping up there, but let's talk about college football. We have a good college football prop bet that's popping up. This is one of those pure EV bets that I like to call out because we're not doing any like total calculations with it. For NFL, again, a lot of that is just based off of them scoring a touchdown, which drastically shifts the likelihood of a bet hitting or not hitting, right? And so that's one we should be targeting. But let's dive in a little bit deeper here for some of the bets that we are getting. We're not getting any stroke differences or any birdie or better differences on PGA today, so nothing really there. We'll jump on into NBA. NBA, we're getting a couple of decent bets, so if you guys like any of these, by all means, go ahead and make these bets. Like we got John Collins for under his fantasy score here. This is one that's really popping up, and that's just mostly due to the prop line difference that we are getting here, guys. PrizePicks is giving him a 36 for the PrizePicks line, where the average sportsbook line would have it closer to 32 and a half. And this is crazy. So what is he? We're not getting minutes projections just yet. 1 game slate. Let's see. Yeah, it's a 1 game slate here, guys. And so they did slightly bump it down. He is coming in off of a massive game against Phoenix, but other than that, has been very much hit or miss, as we see here. I guess I get the line, and I guess I get why Vegas is giving us the under here. Lauri Markkanen for over or under 7.5 rebounds is a good EV bet that's currently popping up. Klay Thompson to get under his fantasy score, coming in off of that emotional high against the Golden State Warriors. I could see this one hitting. He shot pretty well last game as well, and I could see that. Maybe that's kind of a turning point for him, though. He gets the good vibes going. Now he's going to be good to go. But coming in off of that kind of maybe stressful, kind of emotional high, I could naturally see this game being a letdown for him, so I can get behind that. And then it is worth calling out Lauri Markkanen's over fantasy score is somewhat a decent bet, we can see the average sportsbook line would have it closer to 34.2. I don't know if I necessarily want to target this one. It's only a 53% likely to hit. We'll jump on into college basketball real quick. I don't think we're getting many. There's not that many games going on today. And so for college basketball, we are getting a couple of good props, kind of, really one, I guess, this fantasy score prop bet for Elijah Fisher. Let's take a peek at that. All right, so far he's been he's all right, 50% thus far this season. So they played 4 games. This is going to be their 5th game thus far. And we take a peek at his game log. I just want to see why. Okay, so first game, 32 minutes, 15 points. Nothing really else going on there, okay? Then these 2 games, 24, 26 minutes. That kind of explains it. Obviously, 2 games that were blowouts. Then against Hawaii, 10-point game. Played massive minutes in that game. 7 rebounds, 1 assist, 21 points. And I guess that kind of makes sense. I was going to say, what are his points line set at? Because obviously we are seeing that a lot of his production for his fantasy scores coming from points. Maybe that's a route that we can go instead. If you guys like that, we see that's about a 52% likelihood. Not terrible. Lamar Washington over PRA. 53%. That's not terrible there as well. So we have some options there, guys. So with that, let's go ahead and let's get into the bet of the day here for PrizePicks. Again, just want to remind you guys of the promo code on the website. Make sure to take advantage of this, guys, if you guys want access to any of the tools that you just saw in this video. So I do think Saquon Barkley, I'm kind of betting on him to score that touchdown, and maybe Jalen Hurts to not have 2 rushing touchdowns again. Obviously, with Barkley being a little bit banged up last game, that does make sense as to why Jalen Hurts maybe got a little bit more work. Do like the fact that the Eagles are going to be favored to win in this game by 3.5 points. So that should mean maybe a little bit more work for Barkley late in the game, which could make sure that gets the over. Going with Daniels for under his fantasy score. Don't exactly love that in this high scoring game. But those are the 2 best prop bets that we have on PrizePicks for this game. And then we are going with some EV bets that we have. They go with Klay Thompson to get under 24.5 for his fantasy score. Again, just coming in off of that, potential high, emotional high. Maybe it's just not as geared up and good to go for this game. And then John Collins, we are seeing that this is a big prop line difference between how Vegas sees it going and how PrizePicks sees it going at the same time. If he crushes this over, guys, do not be shocked. He's been very much hit or miss, kind of like the rest of the Utah squad as well. Now that's going to do it for this video, guys. Make sure to give a like and subscribe to the video. Make sure to comment your guys' favorite prop bet as well. That way we can all help each other out. Thank you guys for watching. Again, if you guys want access to any of those tools, head on over to 9to5sports.com. Get access to them for $10 a month. But when you use the promo code Keep Cashing, get it for $8. Thanks for watching, guys. Good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.